Yesterday, NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden spoke out yet again, this time in the form of question and answer with The Guardian, where he answered a series of questions about the leaks he released and why. One of the questions asked to Snowden was whether the treatment of past whistleblowers had inspired him to release the trove of documents. And in response, he said, quote, Binney, Drake, Kiriakou, and Manning are all examples of how overly harsh responses to public interest whistleblowing only escalate the scale, scope, and skill involved in future disclosures. These draconian responses simply build better whistleblowers. One of those men he mentioned is actually joining us right now. Thomas Drake, former NSA senior executive and whistleblower of warrantless spying, along with Jesselyn Radack, whistleblower and national security director for the Government Accountability Project. Thank you so much, both of you, for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I imagine it's been a whirlwind couple of weeks for you guys. Thomas, I'll start with you. Daniel Ellsberg, of course, one of the most famous whistleblowers of all time, said that this was the most important leak in American history. Do you agree with that sentiment?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Because we're seeing the contours of an extraordinary systemic Leviathan surveillance system that is now worldwide in scope.
And how is PRISM different than Trailblazer, the program that you exposed in 2009 that actually you were charged under the Espionage Act for?
Well, PRISM, none of this is surprising me, but PRISM is an extraordinary revelation in terms of actually seeing a document that demonstrates that there's a collusion between the U.S. government and some of the most powerful, largest internet service providers, not only in the country, but the world, where the government is essentially given direct access, or the equivalent of direct access, to subscriber information on a very large scale, including the content of their information on those servers hosted by those ISPs.
Jesselyn, how did this go beyond what Bush had authorized during his administration? Because I think people are looking at this saying, well, didn't the Patriot Act, FISA, already kind of authorize this kind of overstepping?
Well, this definitely expanded it. I mean, in the Bush administration, they were wiretapping and doing that without a warrant. But now we're talking about the government actually going to the 9 largest providers in the country and sitting on their servers and having a back door into Google, Apple, Microsoft, and their content and their metadata. So the program, first of all, I mean, that Bush and Congress declared was legal turned out to be illegal, and they passed a law to retroactively authorize it and immunize the telecoms. And then now, yet again, we have a new president and Congress saying it's legal, nothing to worry about, and it's breaking 2 major federal laws in the 4th Amendment of the Constitution.
And Obama's also said multiple times that congressional oversight is Americans' only chance to really understand if spying, or that they aren't being spied on, sorry. But Jesselyn, how can we assure that congressional oversight will happen if the FISA court's completely secret, if the people being briefed are happening in secret and they're sworn to secrecy and they can't tell anyone what's going on?
We can't. The FISA court is no substitute for a real Article III court. It operates completely in secret. It hears only one side of the case and rubber stamps everything. Last year's an example. It approved nearly 2,000 applications and rejected 0. And in terms of Congress, the intel committees are briefed, but then they're gagged. And that's why you have people like Wyden and Udall making cryptic statements that if Americans knew what the secret interpretation of 215 was, they would be outraged. So that is not robust oversight, to have everything done in secrecy and have some honest broker congressman trying to make reference to secret interpretations.
How many people are in the loop here that we're talking about behind these briefings?
Well, it's actually a very small group. I mean, this is part of it. The ones that are vetted, the ones that are authorized to actually speak secrets, even in secret. I mean, this is unprecedented in this country. I mean, it really, truly is. How can such deep secrets exist in a democracy, a constitutional republic, without something giving? And what's giving our fundamental rights and liberties? And I do believe if the conversations and discussions, debate that people are now having over the past 2 weeks are any indication, people are growing more uncomfortable with what's been going on for the past 12 years. And maybe, just maybe, the government is overreaching.
Yeah. I wanted to play you guys a clip from House Democrat Loretta Sanchez, who was briefed in light of the leak.
What we learned in there is significantly more than what is out in the media today. I can't speak to what we learned in there. And I don't know if there are other leaks, if there is more information somewhere, if somebody else is going to step up. But I will tell you that I believe it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Thomas, if this is just the tip of the iceberg, what could be more pervasive than spying on everyone, including foreign governments?
Well, I've said this somewhat. Maybe I was being a little bit joking when I said that the World Wide Web is really the short version of NSA's "we wiretap the world." And I think what she's referring to is the fact that there are additional orders and there's additional programs that have not been revealed in terms of actual material evidence documentation. And I think that once those come out, and there's our likelihood at least some of those are coming out based on what our understanding that Edward Snowden, in terms of what's in his position, once those are disclosed, I think several other shoes will drop. And the government's desperate to protect the deepest of the secrets, which is not only that essentially U.S. citizens are the equivalent of foreign nationals. There is no foreign intelligence surveillance court. It's simply a rubber stamp surveillance court. We're going to find that citizens that are supposed to have rights, including citizens in other countries, are simply subjects of a surveillance state, and we just need the data.
Yeah, I find it particularly interesting that the NSA was tapping into civilian infrastructures in other countries. I mean, unbeknownst to the governments. How is that even possible? It's just unbelievable. Thomas,
because they can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is it necessary to be tapping a hospital or a school or something like that? I mean, information is a currency of power, and getting more and more information is the name of the game, particularly in this very secretive regime we've put in place under Bush and only grown and expanded under Obama. So the flip side of the leaking is all the overclassification and the secreting of everything in America. And when she made that statement, that was before this weekend's revelations that PRISM is one of 4 programs that are gathering not just metadata, but content.
And Thomas, intelligence officials today said that the NSA wiretapping program had actually thwarted at least 50 terrorist attacks. Yet in light of the Boston bombing and the underwear bomber, there was actually internal reports that said that the needle in the haystack method doesn't work. It actually deters intelligence from being gathered and the dots being connected. If this program is not serving its stated purpose, what is its purpose?
Well, it serves a surveillance state. It serves a very, very large, contractor base. It's one of the elephants in the room. Staggering amounts of money are being made off the fear-mongering since 9/11. You now have an entire industrialized scale mechanism by which a number of contractors are feeding off of it, and it's a lot of money. And so you also have, those in Congress who are supporting it and enabling it. This has become normalized. That's why it's not something that's an aberration. It's not something that's a one-off. It's become normalized. And so they must defend it. They're not going to give up this secret power willingly.
Yeah, the coupling of the profit making within Congress as well with members. Jesselyn, I wanted to show you a chart of a Pew Research study that polled Republicans and Democrats about NSA surveillance programs in 2006 and 2013. Under Bush, only 23% of Republicans found that spying was unacceptable. Under Obama, it jumped to 47%. Similarly, when Democrats were polled, 61% said it was unacceptable under Bush, dropping almost half, 34% now under Obama. Why is civil liberties and spying a partisan issue?
It shouldn't be. And in fact, here, I've actually seen some good, good bipartisan matching. I mean, we have Sensenbrenner, who wrote the Patriot Act, coming out against this, in addition to Wyden and Udall and Merkley and people you would think would have a problem with this. And again, when this happened earlier, we had that strange bedfellows phenomenon with Republican libertarians and progressive Democrats saying this is unacceptable for the government to have this much power and the people not to even know about it. And in terms of all the fear-mongering about stopping terrorist plots, that's an ends justifies the means argument that is a consequential, look at this rather than, an actual reason we should allow law breaking.
And I would actually challenge the statement that was actually made by Alexander and company. How many of those quote-unquote terrorist plots or events were actually disrupted, stopped, or prevented solely on the basis of the secret surveillance programs and not by other means?
And again, even if we got the answer, there's no way to test that. Here, the government has told huge lies because they're spying on tens of millions of Americans' digital data, and yet we're supposed to rely on them right now. Just trust us yet again to tell you how many terrorist plots we foiled, but we can only tell you so much. And this is coming from an administration that is certainly not shy about bragging about the terror plots that it disrupts.
Yeah, also that it manufactures and then disrupts.
Great point.
Well, this is one of the interesting dynamics. I mean, in a constitutional republic democracy, this is not informed consent by those who are governed. This is manufactured consent, and I would actually argue it's coerced consent in secret. So somehow in secret, we know what's best for you, and we're simply going to make those decisions on your behalf, but we're not going to tell you what those decisions are. That's not democracy.
It's just appealing to authority. Thomas, what's your response to the argument, if I have nothing to hide, I have nothing to fear?
It's a wonderful opportunity for me to share something I've been asking everybody that I meet over the last couple of weeks. So just take your life and do the following. The keys to your car, your house, all of your passwords, every single account, your medical records, your bank statements. Take all of those, including all of your valuables. Go to the other side of town and give it to a perfect stranger. Are you going to do it? And let them, quote unquote, keep it for you. Are you going to do that?
No.
Why not? The real question is why not?
And why would you let the government do that?
Yes.
If you say no to that question, then why on earth would you let the government
I wouldn't
do
even
that?
yeah, someone that I know, let alone someone that I don't know at all.
But you trust your fellow citizen, don't you?
I don't know anymore, Thomas. I really don't.
So you would trust your government.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thomas Drake, Jesselyn, Radack.
Thank
Always
you.
a pleasure to have you guys on. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for
It's
having
great
us.
to be here. Thank you.